This is an It Came From GenX video.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Keith Porter here with Brian Fisher. It is time for It Came From GenX, the show that knows the most about life and what we call the good old days, baby. Good old days weren't always good. Tomorrow ain't as bad as it seems. That's a quote from my man Billy Joel. But anyway, hey, what's going on, Fisher? How you doing, bro?
Doing well, brother. We had a week off here. Everybody had stuff going on last week, so
we did.
Good to be back with you.
We did, and those of you who are watching the video, someone is still slacking. He'll be off for a couple of weeks, but our man Mike Skinner, the rancher, is busy preparing for his upcoming nuptials. We couldn't be happier and more excited about this. This is going to be a special day. Married his beloved, our dear friend, Miss Marcy, and he's a lucky man. He's a very blessed man. So he's going to be getting prepared for that. And of course, after his wedding, I'm sure they got some wonderful plans. So he's going to be a little AWOL for a couple of weeks, but we are going to hold down the fort, make him proud, and we'll definitely see him Saturday at the wedding. So maybe by next week's show, you guys will all know he's been married. You can send them a congratulations. All right. But man, I tell you what, we got a lot of stuff we can talk about, though. We had a week off, as you mentioned, and there was all kind of good things going on last week. Lots more going on this week, and we are going to have a lot of fun. But I got a little yelled at today on social media, so I want to start the show off by saying hello to Joe L. Ramey in Pittsburgh. I love you. Hey, I'm sorry we hadn't give you a shout out in a while, but you know how it gets. But we haven't heard from you in a while either, so out of sight, out of mind. But big shout out to her daughter, everybody out there in Pittsburgh, or as I call it, the motherland. We appreciate you watching the show. And the only way she knew we didn't mention her is she watched the show. So I appreciate that. I was gonna say, yeah, we always shout out at you. Oops. Okay, so all right, before we get started, man, tell them where they can find the show.
All right. Well, you mentioned, first of all, it was, I know Skinner is very excited for Saturday. Marcy, not so much. That's what I hear.
Marcy's like, what did I do? What did I do?
Keith's going to be like, repeat after me, and Skinner's like, I got this. I've heard this a couple of times.
You had to start.
We know this by heart.
I was being good. Fisher had to start.
All right.
You know what's cool, though?
What's that?
How many people from a show can say we saw two people out of the four of us get married on the show, and they're father and son?
That's right.
That is really cool.
That is
Mike
something.
Skinner Jr., Mike Skinner. And we watched them both get married, or we're going to watch both. That's awesome.
That's right. And one of them we've seen more than once get married, perhaps. But this will be the last time. I know. This is
the last time.
This definitely feels right.
This feels right. It does. You know what? In all honesty, it does feel right. It feels right.
Yes.
So they're not new to each other, that's for sure. And they fit each other like a glove. They work together well. They certainly love each other. We can't say enough about how we feel about Marcy. She's become one of us. Poor girl. Poor girl. But yeah, so it just feels right. And if I was him, I wouldn't blink another eye. I'd have married her too. So looking forward to it. Yep.
And not the OJ glove either, Keith.
No.
Yeah. All right, we'll keep moving.
Oh, God.
Make it a whole show.
It's gonna be a long night, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for leaving me with this nut.
Yep. we'll give you updates on how the ceremony went on a future episode. When you're
Yes.
hearing this, when you're hearing this, then the wedding should be the next day,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. Right. Maybe.
Or right
Maybe.
around
Right.
then, depending when we get the show up there. The wedding's this coming weekend. We're shooting this on Monday. What is this? Monday the 8th. So it's going to be this
Monday,
coming
8th.
Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll give you guys updates out there on the next episode. All right. Well, and to hear the episode, you might be listening to us wherever you listen to podcasts. So we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Amazon Music, you name it. We're probably on there. So just look for the It Came From GenX podcast. Give us a follow or subscribe. And as we publish episodes every week, we'll pop into your podcast feed free of charge. And while you're at it, give us a rate and review if you're able to. That helps others find the show. We appreciate that. You might be watching us, as Keith mentioned already, there's videos out there at It Came From GenX on YouTube. That's our YouTube channel, or channel on the Boss Code Media TV network. You can find them on your portable device or your smart TV. Just look up the Boss Code Media. Download, subscribe, and we're on there with other creative folks across the country.
Mm-hmm.
All show information can be found in two main places. Our Linktree page is simply Google Linktree. It Came From GenX. It's simply a page with links to social media where you can listen to us, etc. And if you go to one place, go to our website, itcamefromgenx.wordpress.com. All show information is there. Promos, bios, merch store link, ways to sponsor the show, links to new episodes, links to videos. Everything is there for you on the website. And if you do anything at all, share with a friend, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Keep up with us. We appreciate it more than you know. Thanks for your support out there.
Absolutely. And while we're talking about family,
Mhm.
I was also asked to mention his name. I'm sure some of you have heard me mention this before. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Sam Moore from the legendary group Sam and Dave.
Yes.
You know the song Soul Man, Hold On, I'm Coming. He is my uncle.
Legendary.
Yes, and we talk daily. I have something very, very cool coming up with him, and I'm looking forward to that. But he and I argue quite a bit on sports, and he's been getting on my nerves a lot lately. That's right, I said it, Uncle Sam. You've been getting on my nerves. One, talking about them overrated 1972 Dolphins. Now, he's very good friends with those guys. He hangs out with those guys a lot. And not only does my Uncle Sam, but the great legend Larry Little of the 72 Dolphins have asked to come on the show and debate football against me.
Oh, boy.
And I said, we accept.
Sure.
So the gauntlet has been thrown down. Sam Moore, Larry, we will be waiting. Oh, and Mercury Morris says he'd take a shot too. So whatever. Come on, let's have it. You guys are all welcome. I'm sure I speak for Fisher and Skinner.
Yeah.
You are welcome to come on the show. And we're going to talk some sports. Also, we argue all day about not only those overrated Dolphins, but about LeBron James not being the king of basketball. And I'm like, if he isn't the current king of basketball, who is? Who is? I didn't say he was the best player. He's the top of his game right now. But I say he is the current king. When you take in what he's accomplished, championships, MVPs, gold medals, his longevity, the current scoring champion, who else is the king? So, you know what? I'm tired of arguing with him. I need to embarrass him in front of some people, and maybe that will shut him up, because I told him he should shut his sports pie hole, because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, the gauntlet has been thrown down. We'll see what happens. All right.
No, all those guys you mentioned are legendary in their own
Yes,
right.
they are.
So,
Yes, they
absolutely.
are.
So sure.
They just got done all taking a cruise together
Nice.
with some fans. My Uncle Sam went with them. So it was a great time. And I look forward to tearing them a new one on the show.
I don't know. We had the Patriots a few years ago that came very, very close to tying that record, but I don't know who's even come remotely close since. I mean, the best has been what
No, and the record is skewed, in my opinion. First of all, it was a shorter season.
Yeah.
Okay, and everything's relative. I understand that, but things are just a little bit different back then. I mean, it was a great accomplishment. I'll give them all that, but I don't know, man. There's just a few factors that don't impress me so much about that football team. So whatever. I'll save it for then.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, we've had some strong messages go back and forth between us, me and the 72 Dolphins. They haven't been very friendly. Making friends, Porter. Making friends. All right.
Yeah.
All right. How was your weekend, man?
It was nice. Allie and I will talk about it in the reviews. Went and saw the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie together.
Great.
So that was enjoyable. We'll talk more about that. And other than that, just kind of hung out, relaxed, and chilled. I had a nice fire on Saturday evening.
Yeah,
you
weren't
able to make
that. Yeah,
but
we had already had plans to go out to the movies that night.
Yeah,
And
we'll do more.
Yeah, when it gets a little warmer too.
But it was a beautiful evening. So the Coopers came over. Coach Cooper, who used to be on the show with us, and the lovely wife Amy. We just hung out till like 1 a.m, chilling out. It was a beautiful night for that. So yeah, pretty relaxing, man. How about you?
It was good. I had a fantastic weekend. I Friday morning I go to the doctor's at 8 a.m. thinking I'm about to get an open MRI. And the lady's talking up to me about my knees. I was like, what do you mean? I'm here for an open MRI. And they're like, no, you're here for knee injections. I'm like, no. And they looked on the thing. They're like, your MRI was Tuesday. You didn't show.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but it worked out for the best because I got knee injections and I'm so happy. I've been pain free the last few days. And they rescheduled my open MRI to tomorrow. So it all worked out. I stayed around all Friday evening. I got a lot of stuff done around the house I've been wanting to get done, which felt good. Saturday, I woke up more of the same. And I went out to the movies and finally saw Avatar 2, Way of the Water in 3D with my sister. It was an experience. I absolutely loved every minute of it. What a fantastic movie. Man, I mean, if you haven't seen it, you just submerge yourself in that life that they were living, especially underwater, which is so different from the forest life that they had. It was just magnificent. I can't say enough about it. I thought it was stupendous, man. I don't understand anybody who had anything negative to say about that movie. It was just unbelievable. And you can just imagine living like that. And it was such freedom and such fun and such, oh man, it was amazing. So and the coloring and everything, it was beautiful to watch. So we had a great time. We didn't get home about 1:30, 1:40 as well. And then Sunday we had a great day. Hallie's House, sponsored by House of Restoration, was at the park, feeding the homeless, passing out clothes. It was a beautiful, beautiful day, praying for people. So I was pretty tired last night. So full weekend. Hope to get more done this week. And we're going to start a nice clothing and shoe drive to get out there and help those that are in need. So if you want to be a part of that, you guys know where to find me, social media. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. All right. Okay. Man. So we're going to hold the fort down for Skinbone tonight. I'll let you get us started with a little bit of world news. We do have one big world topic going on. Big love to our man, Mike Skinner Jr. We love you, baby. Podcast producer, Des the Reason. Big love, big shout outs to you. We want to say thank you very, very, very much as well. All right. World news. Take it away, Fish.
All right, very good. You know what? I'm going to give one more shout out. Sorry. Beautiful daughter, Peyton.
Absolutely.
That's okay. She turned in her final college project assignments today. Kent State University. She starts her paid internship next week. She'll do that for a few months, and then she will graduate college in August. So very, very proud of her. Stayed on top of things, great grades, Could not be more proud of her. So if she happens to be listening to this episode, congratulations, sweetheart, and Dad's very proud.
Peyton, congratulations to you. Fisher, that is outstanding, man. When we see our kids accomplish something, it is just one of the greatest things in the world. That is absolutely amazing. Boy, time has flown. You are
Sure
the second proud papa I have talked to. So you reminded me. I also want to say congratulations to the guitar player in one of my other bands, the Diamond Phillips Band, Zach Diamond Phillips. Zach left the band a few years ago to Kentucky for law school. And I can't believe he already, Friday, he walked across the stage and got his law degree. And his father, Al Diamond, who's Phillips, who's the singer in the band, we watched it and he was just so proud. So congratulations to him as well. So that's awesome, Peyton. You go, girl. All right.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. All right. So world news. A lot of bad news out there, as we know, in the States. And we sometimes talk about it, sometimes we don't. So we're going to kind of steer clear of some of the terrible shootings and things that's going on in the country. Just the awful, horrible, tragic, and our thoughts and prayers go out to all the families that's impacted by these terrible, terrible events here. So we're going to focus on England here for a second here. So the coronation this past weekend of King Charles III and Queen Camilla happened over the weekend. Obviously, a very huge event over there, and got a lot of attention, negative and positive, by the local residents there. Some people, it's a once in a lifetime experience. He has been the longest, I think this is the longest, maybe ever, waiting successor, because obviously his mother, Queen Elizabeth, lived to be very old in age and continued to.
He's the oldest guy to get a job after living off his mom.
Yeah, that's something. What is he, 70 some years old, whatever he is, or whatever.
Finally got out the basement.
That's a guy. It's just like, I don't wish my mom any harm at all, but I don't know.
Waiting.
So a lot of people attended the event, as you might imagine, and obviously, for many, you may not see it again. As depending on how old
think about
is,
it. Think about
that. Of course, now other people thought that, well, they shouldn't be continuing to have these huge ceremonies and big to-dos over there, in part because the country is going through some economic tough times, as a lot of countries are right now, and they felt that it was a little bit of excessive and all that stuff. And obviously, we don't live there. We just have our opinions from far away. So just curious.
Well, I keep a residence over there.
Do you?
For the summer, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Go over there and have some extra, tea and so forth over the summer months.
Crumpets,
and everything. Relax. Tea and crumpets,
biscuits.
Absolutely. Yep. We do have some listeners over there, so maybe they're listening to this.
Yes.
And if so, we are curious, for those in the United Kingdom, what you think. If you listen to this, we'd love to hear your opinion about the coronation, if they should do it or not, or whatever it is. But anyway, so what are your thoughts in general, Keith, about the monarchy in general? Is it a strange thing that it still exists? And what do you think of them continuing to have a huge ceremony, even though it's tradition? Does it send the right message, or do they deserve a little bit of bad press from the locals in continuing this big event when the country is going through some difficult times? What do you think?
Okay. Well, when you brought this subject up in pre-show, and wondered, did you want to talk about it? I was like, absolutely, because I find this to be a very fascinating subject. And I won't answer it direct, yes or no, they should, they shouldn't, for the out of respect the fact that I don't live over there. Like, you made a good point, okay? Yeah. We know what we hear and all that other stuff. But I will say this. There's two ways of looking at this. For some people to see that like you said, what they will only see once in a lifetime, if that majesty, that regal, if you will, to see hierarchy change like that. I mean, sometimes this stuff is the stuff of movies for the most of us.
Sure.
You know? And now we've seen it live. It's moving to a lot of people. It's inspirational to a lot of people. And it might be equally, or at least close to, as important as helping the economy. You know, it just might be. I don't know for sure. I'm just speculating. Also, you got to figure this. That big event that got put together, somebody had to work.
Absolutely.
Somebody had to put together the teacups. Somebody had to make the doily. Somebody had to prepare the food, sell the food, buy the food, the plastic, the hard silverware. You know,
Sure.
it could, so I don't know. Maybe it's a wash. I don't know. I don't think it's completely negative on the economy that they spent all this money. It had to help in a lot of ways as well. It could boost morale. I don't know. I don't know how they feel about King Charles over there. And, I'd like to think that as far as the crown is concerned, you have a king. He's a king or queen. That's what it's about. They live on a higher level than the rest of us. But, their life is not their own either. And they got to make decisions that the rest of us maybe could not handle or deal with, and see things. So it is what it is. That's all part of it. I mean, what are you going to tell the King of England? You should have cubic zirconia in your crown because of our budget. I mean, come on. Let's be ridiculous, You'd be the laughing stock of the Western neighborhood, I mean, these countries look at each other like a neighborhood, and you don't want to be the laughing stock of that neighborhood. So I think it's all fair in the wash, it's all part of it. I don't know what their economy's like, what they could be doing better, what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. I know everybody's having issues. And I just think the whole thing is part of who that country is. So I think it has to be, you get rid of that, and then that's when things start to change, and maybe not for the good. You start losing your identity of who you are, as long as it's not something negative, and
Right.
That's why Americans are drawn to that, man, because it's such fantasy. It's such, it's amazing. It's fairy tale. And I think I would think that if I was over there, that would be important to hold on to that stuff to me, I mean, I enjoy watching our presidential inaugurations and all that stuff, man. I love all that. I don't care who the president is. Somebody I couldn't stand or didn't vote for, but I like all the pomp and all that stuff, man, all the pageantry. I think it's awesome. One of the most awesome things I ever saw was a presidential motorcade coming through Canton. I seen them on TV, but when I saw one up close, my mouth was open. It was so awesome, man. How that car never stops. When it comes off that airplane, it never touches the brakes. That's awesome. It was awesome to see how the motorcycle cops kept going ahead, clearing the path. It was all inspiring to me. So I can't imagine what a coronation is like. And I think if you're over in England, that's part of who you are. And you should really embrace all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you in that. And you're right. It's an interesting comparison to our own presidential inauguration. You could almost make the same argument there too. Why are you making a big deal if the country is not doing it? Because it's the things that you talked about. It's the history, it's the tradition. Granted, the presidential power is a lot different than the monarchy over there. Certainly, of course. But like I said, it's historical, and I'm sure it raises, like as you mentioned, pride in your country, and it's like you say, it's a once in a lifetime experience. And like I said, there's a whole thing around it. It's food and souvenirs and everything. Exactly, and so it brings in tourists. I'm sure into the country.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
definitely,
come on, and it did.
Sure, absolutely. So, why not? So as long as they're going to continue to do it, I'm sure they're going to continue the same traditions around it as they should. And on the other side of it, if you protest it, you're allowed. You're allowed just to peacefully protest and speak out against it. Absolutely, it's certainly your right. Your right to do so. I didn't hear any crazy incidents of anybody. Now maybe there was. I didn't see it, but I don't think anybody got hurt or anything like that as far as protesting and all that. So why not? So
why not? It's part of who you are,
Yeah.
You asked an interesting question earlier. Should the monarchy be dissolved or something to that nature?
Yeah, it's interesting that it still continues. That in itself is interesting. Go ahead.
It wasn't until I got older recently and I started learning the influence of the monarchy on the rest of the world, including the United States. I always grew up with this thing in my head that we were just separate entities, and that's not the case at all. You get to a certain level, they're all on the same team in a way, and there's the hierarchy amongst them. I saw Queen Elizabeth practically slap President Bush's hand one time. It was just like he was such a little boy when it happened, because with all the people that was kissing his butt as president, he was in a situation where he was nothing compared to the Queen of England. It was amazing to watch that dichotomy, So when you think about their influence on the world and even the U.S., a little bit of it's kind of scary. And I think right now, the only thing that bothers me is this bloodline stuff, because we've had some shady stuff happen. Diana, and some other things. There's stuff like that bothers me. I got to be honest with you. I was shocked that Meghan Markle was allowed to marry into that family. I was like, huh? Talk about not in the bloodline, and she's black too. I didn't think that would ever happen in a million years. And I'm surprised and happy she's still alive. So that part really got me right there. So, I don't know, man. I think we should keep an eye on the royal family very closely, especially now that Charles is there. I've never liked him. I've always thought he was a sneaky, dirty, you know what. I read a lot about him and Camilla back in the day, and God help England. That's all I can say. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see, man.
Yep. All right, man. Well, that's what we got for good commentary.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
good
what we
stuff,
got for
man.
world news. When we get on to some music and sports, sir.
All right. Do it, man. How about we start out with some sports, man?
All right.
Oh, Fish, it's 2023, and some people still don't know how to look before they cross the road, man. They can't get out of their own way. People just cannot get out of their own way, man. Listen, in 2023, watch what you say in the media and don't hit sin. That should be the two biggest things everybody should learn. Don't hit sin and watch what you say, man.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Especially if you got a lot to lose, man. And when I say a lot to lose, you're any kind of celebrity, sports figure, and you make six figures or above, because this is what we call cancel culture, and they will get you. And next on the chopping block, West Virginia basketball coach Bob Huggins. Okay, man. All right, look, dude. He was doing an interview, and he was asked about, let me make sure I quote this right, because I don't want to, all right, let me read this. UC basketball coach legend Bob Huggins used a homophobic slur during an interview with 700 WLW's Bill Cunningham on Monday. UC's all-time winningest head coach said Xavier players wouldn't transfer to West Virginia because Catholics don't do that. Then he used a slur. Huggins, Any school that can throw rubber penises on the floor and then say that they didn't do it, by God, they can get away with anything. Cunningham said, I think it was transgender night, wasn't it? Oh, that's another subject. Huggins, it was a crosstown shootout, yeah. What it was all those FA guesses, I think. Okay. I'm not for cancel culture, but there's some people you can't protect and you don't want to protect. I don't want to protect this guy. I'm all for free speech and all that stuff, but I don't want to protect this guy. You're a moron, man. I mean, there's free speech and there's hate speech, okay? We need to understand what the difference is, and using a word like that, and especially in the contents that he did, that's just hate speech. And I was like, wow, I can't even believe this guy said this, man. This is a seasoned, legendary coach, been around the block, knows what's up, and he said that not once but twice. Thoughts on that, Fish?
Not your fault. While you were describing it, you froze up for a second there. So just to be clear,
okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, it's not your fault. So Huggins used the F word in describing gay people, which is an inappropriate term these days, of course. Not that it wasn't before, but it's
right.
Huggins got his start locally, right, in the Akron University of Akron basketball team, if I recall correctly.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, yeah, back in then he went on to Cincinnati and then now West Virginia. So, yeah, it's you just have to know what you're saying. You have to have common sense, like you say, and you say something like that, and then you deserve all the negative repercussion that happens to you. I mean, it's really as simple as that. Like you say, you have to understand that you're on a radio show. Somebody's going to hear it.
Yeah.
Someone's going to get a hold of it and get it out there publicly. And if you say something like that, then obviously you probably think initially there's nothing wrong with the term. There's nothing wrong with what you're saying. And then someone gets a hold of you and says, hey, listen, you got a problem here, and then you have to backtrack and everything else. And every time that happens, it always seems very ingenuine and just someone trying to cover themselves to get out of a jam. So
yeah, and that's where I'm curious to see what happens with this, because I've seen people have a lot of bad things happen to them for a lot less. Things being misconstrued, words put in their mouth. This is blatant. Okay, so you better be consistent with what you do with this guy. We've had people have to change the lyrics to their songs for innocent words like spaz.
Right.
So I want to see what happens here, because this is hate speech, man. This is hate speech. I don't know any other way to put it. That word has nothing good about it, and he should know better. He definitely should know better. So I thought it would be cool to look back over the years at some of our greatest moments in sports. People put their foot in their mouth, man, really, really bad. And I got to give an honorable mention that happened recently, just a few years ago, and it had nothing to do with sports. But every time I watch it, my skin just crawl and I crack up laughing. But the great Kelly Osbourne, Ozzy Osbourne's daughter, was on The View a few years ago when Trump was running and talking about building a wall to keep out illegal immigrants. And while there were Spanish-speaking hosts on the show, Kelly Osbourne said, well, if he kicks out all the illegal immigrants, who's going to clean his toilets?
Oh, boy.
I said, wow. Everybody just looked at her, man. And I forget who the one woman was, but she was some sort of Spanish-speaking descent. She goes, we're not the only people that clean toilets, we can do it. Boy, she never walked that one down. I was like, man, that was just beautiful. Okay, what an idiot. Okay, so there's some classic ones that have happened over the years. Even revered people who are Hall of Famers, well loved and respected, like the great Bob Greasy. And Bob Greasy really put his foot in his mouth in 2009. And I'm going to just fast track this one here. They were asking about Colombian racer Juan Pablo Montoya, and he wasn't on the list of a NASCAR event. And when asked where he was, Greasy responded, he's probably out having a taco.
Jeez.
Now, you can take that one or two ways, but it just sounds bad, man. It just sounds bad, bitch. Out of bounds, in bounds, what do you think?
I mean, it's not. It's a dumb comment. I don't think he meant anything hateful by it, but it's definitely a dumb comment.
Yeah,
you're making an assumption that just because you're Mexican, you like you enjoy Mexican food and this and I don't know.
Yeah, right. Now there's some of these that are so bad and so blatant. There's no need even talking about them. I can't even say what they said, so I'm not going to bother with those. Okay. All right. So of course, Kelly Tillman, talking about Tiger Woods back in 2008, made this little quote. He's from the Golf Channel. Kelly Tillman had she said during the PGA telecast, Nick Faldo joked that golfers on the tour would have to gang up on Tiger Woods in order to keep up with him. Tillman responded, they should lynch him in the back alley.
Jeez.
I don't have to ask you about that one.
That's like a lose your job comment right there.
Yeah, let's see. She was suspended for 2 weeks for her remarks.
Yeah.
And Tiger held no grudge against her. 2 week suspension. Okay. It's just funny how inconsistent the things happen with some people, right? Hey, let's be fair here. Shaquille O'Neal. Now he has a fun-loving attitude. He plays around a lot. And I think this is the only reason he skated on this one. 2002. Speaking of the great Yao Ming, China's 7-foot hero, phenomenal player, had some great battles with Shaq. Shaq, in an interview after, he said, tell Yao Ming, Ching Chong Yang, Wow Wow Soul. Inbounds or out of bounds, fish?
I mean, you're making fun of the language. It's like racial stuff. That's that you just shouldn't do it. Now, maybe he has a rapport with him and just kind of kidding around, but you keep that more you and him talking and goofing around if that's the case. Don't put that out there public like that. So just a dumb comment.
I agree. Keep it with between you two, but I don't think it was racist. I didn't think it was mean. I don't think you should have suffered any, too big of a flashback from that.
Yeah, again, just dumb. It's not saying it's hateful. It's like
it was stereotyping at best, at worst.
Yes.
I should say, yes.
Right.
Okay, and this is the one that really got me because this jerk was playing football right after this. Riley Cooper. You remember him? Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver. In 2000.
I don't.
Oh, okay. He played for the Philadelphia Eagles in 2013. But he was at a Kenny Chesney concert, and the camera was on him, and he got into it with some bouncers because he tried to go backstage because he thought he was Riley Cooper. And his comment was, I'll fight every N-word here. Yeah, and this son of a gun had the nerve to show up to play football the next week with all those N-words in the locker room.
Oh, man. Yeesh.
He's lucky he didn't get his anatomy rearranged on that one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I love when things like this happen because you find out who people really are.
Yeah.
He was in an environment where he probably thought that was comfortable talk, and didn't think a camera was on him. Probably had some adult beverages in him, and you found out who you are. And he tried to walk that one back down, but ain't buying it, buddy.
I
Jason
remember when
Whitlock.
Keith. Go ahead, Jason Whitlock. Go ahead, no, please.
No, yo, go ahead, buddy.
I was gonna say what I remember as a kid, and maybe it's already on your list, but Jimmy the Greek.
Oh gosh, that's classic. Yes.
Back in the
I'm glad you brought that one up.
Because that was an interesting dynamic, because it was something where it was like he was giving you sports line betting, kind of back in and sports betting was not necessarily legal. It was a whole thing, and it was a comment around how how they can run faster, or it was like a whole.
What he was talking about was the development of the black athlete.
That's it.
I found this comment very interesting because he spoke the truth. He didn't say nothing that wasn't true. But he was talking about they would take their strongest female slave and bred her with her biggest, strongest male slave, and you were putting out very powerful, strong, fast human beings. He didn't say anything that wasn't true. Just probably shouldn't have said it.
Yeah, what? Hey.
Well, you take that big, strong black woman
on network television. Yeah,
that was
bizarre.
And this guy was the greatest handicapper in the country too, man. I mean, he was just a gambler, a handicapper, and he was so good. They put him on a sports show and put him on TV, man, and just ruined him.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he definitely in that time. He was one of the biggest names in commentating at the time.
CBS Sports, man. Jimmy the Greek, man. Huge name. Him, Brent Musburger, all this. Yeah.
So, Phyllis, it was. Wow.
He's a great example of it wasn't that bad. You just probably shouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So Jason Whitlock, who he's somebody I can't stand. Sometimes he says some brilliant stuff. A lot of times I don't agree with this guy. I don't know where he's coming from. He is on some ESPN shows. He's been on a couple of different shows. He's a commentator. He's a columnist. And for transparency, he is black. And he made this comment about Jeremy Lin. Of course, Jeremy Lin is an Asian basketball player who rose to prominence in 2012. He had a stretch of really great games. And he said when Jeremy Lin played for the Knicks, they called it Linsanity.
I remember that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is him playing off an Asian stereotype. Whitlock said on Twitter that after Lin dropped 38 points on the Lakers that night, he was going out with some lucky lady. Some lady that night, and he said some lucky lady in New York is going to feel a couple inches of pain tonight. So that was stereotypical racism. That was attack on somebody's manhood. He was way out of bounds in that one, in my opinion, man. He can make the argument that he wasn't even going at the angle, the racist angle, the stereotypical angle. Because if he had said that about somebody else, then maybe it'd have been looked at as maybe, guys joking around. We said that about Skinner or something like that,
Sure.
So but it's too late, a little bit too late, man.
You got to think it through. That's of course, if you put it out there publicly, you're already probably not thinking it through.
Right, you're not thinking it through. And of course, the classic John Rocker. Oh yeah, starting pitcher. back in the day, he really knew how to do it, man. And his quote was, I'd retire first. It's most hectic. This is talking about New York City, nerve-wracking city. Imagine having to take the 7 train to the ballpark looking like you're riding through Beirut next to some kid with purple hair, next to some queer with AIDS, right next to some dude who just got out of jail for the 4th time, right next to some 20-year-old mom with 4 kids. It's depressing. The biggest thing I don't like about New York are the foreigners. You can walk an entire block in Times Square and not hear anybody speaking English. Asians and Koreans and Vietnamese and Indians and Russians and Spanish people and everything up there. How the hell did they get in this country?
Yikes. Just kept it going. Yep.
Somebody had a couple of beverages before that interview.
Yeah. No kidding.
Wow.
Cleveland had him for 10 minutes. I remember back
Oh,
in.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
He became the most hated man in sports for a while.
Yeah.
And again, some truth to some of the things he said, if we're honest. So I don't know. But just probably should have said it. Man. There's a lot of sad ones in here. But I just don't understand how in today's age a figure like Bob Huggins is using a word like the F word in the context that he used it and twice.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really sad and it's really, really shameful. People, first of all, if you got hate in your heart, that's sad. You shouldn't. You need to work on that. But secondly, don't put it out on social media and don't press send. Just don't.
And if you do, whatever happens to you is what happens.
You
We talked
better
about this
believe it.
before too. That some people talk about quote unquote cancel culture.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it is people holding other people accountable for what they're saying. You can say anything you want to.
Yeah.
But you have to be prepared to face the consequences, whatever that is, and wherever you say it to, and the audience you're saying it to, etc. So
I like the part about it that's stomping out hate. You know,
sure.
Yeah, you have a right to say something, and we have a right not to buy your records anymore.
That's right.
You know, or come see you play anymore, or whatever it is. So, you know, that's just the way of the world, man. Freedom of speech, responsibility of speech. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So that's our little start in the sports today. Last week we weren't on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the biggest event that happened was the 2023 NFL draft. And it was a tremendous event, as it has been the last few years. Man, it has become a spectacle unto itself. Thousands and thousands of people, music, vendors. I mean, it's just crazy. Special guests, special presenters. I mean, it was just nuts, man. They got all these things for all the players that attend. You know, you get to see all the flashy suits or whatever, and you know, and I love the draft. It's kind of become a special thing for my sister and I to watch the draft together. Pam really gets into it. She gets it. It's about the stories. As well as seeing, you know, who your team gets and all that stuff. But I just love seeing the stories, you know. Some of it is just humorous, some of it's fascinating, and mostly it's very, very touching. There's always one story every year that just grabs me. I don't get into all the pageantry and all that stuff. I get very upset. Most of these players look like pimps, you know, and these ridiculous outfits on and, you know, and the sunglasses and all that stupid stuff. This year I was very, very pleased. Like the first 6, 7 picks were just amazing. Bryce Young, our own CJ Stroud from Ohio State, just complete class, man.
Yeah.
They were complete class. Like first 6, 7 picks, their players were class, their parents were all class. They were all giving glory to God. They were all respectful. They all had these out of football projects going on to help other people. I was very impressed. I forget who the first player was. He was making the gang signs, and his mom show up, and all of this was out. I would have lost it on my mom. She came on national TV looking like that. I forget who it was, but it was really, really sad and pathetic. But anyway, it's always some great stories going on. And last year, I made a comment to mention the story about Quiddy Pay, who mother was carrying him and his siblings through a war-torn third world country, dodging bombs and bullets. And then on that night, she went from that to her son becoming a millionaire. It was one of the most beautiful stories I had ever seen. And man, dreams come true. And I thought that was very touching. This year, my favorite story is with your Dallas Cowboys, man. And late in the late rounds, and 212th pick in the draft, Chris Vaughn, a scout for the Dallas Cowboys, was sitting there in they don't use the word war room anymore. They call it the draft room now. Was sitting there, Jerry Jones and the whole Dallas hierarchy, and they didn't let him know which name they were pulling up for the next call in the draft. And it was, in fact, his son, Deuce, and the emotions on him. He just broke down right there in that chair. It was just a beautiful, beautiful moment, man.
Yeah.
And I just love seeing people's dreams come true and things like that happen. And I really, really respected that the draft covering these parts of it that make it all worthwhile. Any thoughts about the draft before we move on, buddy?
No, it's like you said, I did see that video. That was very, like you say, a very beautiful thing. The pride of his father, and it's nice. It's a nice move by the organization. I'm sure they
Yes, it
did not
was.
draft him because of that,
Mhm.
because of the relationship, but to keep it a secret and everything like that. Like I said, that keeps the. Sometimes you almost forget that these guys are human with families and that type of stuff, and it's nice to see, to your point, those stories like that where it's a young kid that you imagine all the hours of practice and dedication and just toiling and just the extra motivation to try to, and some of these guys to make something for their family, all that, to see it come true like
Yeah.
that is it's just something else. It just changes it could change a whole generation for those families,
Yeah.
so
It's
pretty amazing.
amazing. Very
Yeah.
amazing. The relationships that are involved in there. Bryce Young and CJ Stroud were just, I didn't know they were as good of friends as they were. And then to go 1-2 and cheering for each other, that was awesome to watch.
Yeah.
There are people being reunited on teams. By many publications, CBS Sports, NFL Network, my Steelers had the best draft out of the entire NFL. I was very, very proud of them. 4 potential starters, and I am happy to say a Porter is back in Pittsburgh, baby. Joey Porter Jr. in Pittsburgh. I was so happy. I was jumping up on the roof, man. It was just great to see. So I'll be getting me another Porter jersey with the Pittsburgh Steelers on it. We have been smart the last couple of years. Hey, if you're going to draft college players, go to the best college football team. And we have been fleecing the Georgia Bulldogs for top-notch talent, and it has certainly paid off. And I think it's going to pay off this year. Our offensive line should be second to none this year. They had a fantastic draft. Also, the team that got decimated this year in free agency, and we thought they were going to fall off the mountain. Man, they went right back up there. The Philadelphia Eagles, another outstanding draft, replacing all those defenders. Man, whew, they're going to be something. We saw the Kansas City get more weapons for Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, that's what he needs. They should be very, very good. We saw a lot of teams really just change their luck like that. We didn't even know if what's his name was going to be on the Ravens in the next week. Now they're like, one of the most
Lamar
potent.
Jackson.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson. I'm one of the most potent offenses. It was just amazing how things could change on there. Nobody did really bad. It wasn't the deepest draft ever, but everybody helped their team pretty good, and it was an enjoyable event. I was shocked to see Roger Goodell stayed all 3 days this time, so that was very, very interesting. Usually, the third day is for the, hey, just go ahead and run the draft. We're going back home. Uh, that was really, really cool. And there was one player who had stayed all 3 days, even though his name hadn't got called. I forget who it was. It was just a classy moment. And he did get drafted. He got his moment to walk out on stage and shake the commissioner's hand because the commissioner stayed. I thought that was really classy move too. So people don't realize, like you said, what goes into this. These guys' lives lead up to this moment, man. And it's a really, really big deal to them. If you could see a show on the people who sat there whose name didn't get called, I'm sure it would be one of the most heartbreaking things you would ever watch. So congratulations to all those young players. Now you got to go out and prove it. And all I can say is go Steelers. All right. So okay, so that's it for sports today, but so glad Skinner ain't here. I can talk about my Steelers all I want. Man, did you see that tight end we got? Oh, we're gonna run some people over, baby. Okay. All right, guys. Music. It is May 8th. We're recording this show. So that's the day of music that we go by. May 8th has some interesting things happen. Prince, right after his death, had two albums shoot up to number 1 and 2. The Best of Prince and Purple Rain. Of course, that's suspected to happen after any person of his caliber dies. Very, very, very sad. Also, my favorite friend, Madonna, had a painting sold for $7.2 million. Oh my goodness.
Painting she made?
Let's see. A painting by Ferdinand Lieger, owned by Madonna, sold for $7.2 million in New York. The singer bought the 1921 Cubist work, Three Women at a Red Table, in 1990 for $3.4 million. According to Sotheby's, proceeds from the sale would benefit Madonna's Ray of Light Foundation, supporting girls' education projects in the Middle East and South Asia. So this was a great investment, obviously, and she took that investment and put it to use to help other people. So I give her credit for that.
There you go.
Okay. 2006, Keith Richards called off a European Rolling Stones tour because he underwent brain surgery. He was 62 at the time. He had a mild concussion. He fell out of a coconut tree on holiday in Fiji. Why are you in a coconut tree? Would you explain to me, why are you 62 years old in a coconut tree? Probably
trying to get a
bliss.
coconut, probably.
Yeah, and I'm sure you were bliss. Okay. 2005, Bruce Springsteen was at number 1 U.S. album chart with Devils and Dust. It was his 13th number 1 studio album. I just may be performing with Bruce Springsteen in October. We'll talk about that later. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago. My favorite drummer growing up, 1996, Tommy Lee. A judge ruled against him and wife Pamela Anderson in their bid to keep Penthouse Magazine from publishing still photos from an X-rated movie that was stolen from their home, which that film is now legendary now, if you want to use that word. I don't want to say good, but it would have been dumb to prohibit them from using them photos when everything else got out in the public. So that would have looked like a dumb judgment if that judge would have ruled in their favor. So, okay. So, a few other things we won't get into, but there were some birthdays today. And one birthday that caught me was Van Halen drummer Alex Van Halen. And let's talk a whole lot about drummers on here. Alex Van Halen is definitely one of my heroes. He was born, let's say, in 1953. He became an ordained minister and presided at his brother Eddie's wedding in 2009. Definitely the co-founder of Van Halen, known for his ridiculous drum sets, super long bass drums put together by PVC and hoses, and he had fire extinguishers on his kick drums, and he's just an absolute amazing drummer. He has some uniqueness about his style that I've incorporated to my playing, and no one else had ever done some of the things that he's done, especially his cymbal work. And he's just one of my favorites to listen to and to watch. Thought it'd be cool to ask the Don drummer, what drummers really catch your attention when you either hear them or see them on a video, Fish?
Well, you already touched on, Tommy Lee. The whole, he's just a talented drummer to begin with, coupled with the theatrics has been some pretty amazing. I've seen him a few times in concert. Just some of the stuff he's done is really just pretty. It's just something. I didn't see the whole. There's a video with him with a drum kit that revolved.
Right.
I did see one with him. He had like a roller coaster track.
Yeah.
That he was strapped into and would play drums, doing slow loops and things, just to have the talent to keep playing, let alone play at a high level, was pretty amazing for him. Yeah. So he's definitely one. And then Lars Ulrich jumps out at me as well from Metallica. Just more of this, the double bass work that he can do.
He was definitely a pioneer.
Pretty amazing. Yeah. Absolutely. So just a couple that come to mind for me anyway.
Lars Ulrich had a great style back in the day. He really started something that just a big drum set and all the toms, from a 6-inch down to a 12 or 14. You don't see that anymore. He was just great for that. Of course, he plays a smaller kit now, just the 2 cans up front. But I love his style too growing up. You talk about Tommy Lee. I think the modern day Tommy Lee right now is Travis Barker. I mean, he's just long and lanky, and he just plays this crazy whippet style of drums. I mean, he's just absolutely amazing, man. This guy just gets borrowed for everybody. He plays with everybody, Of course, he's from, I believe, Blink 28, whatever, Blink something. But anyway, but he's just an amazing, amazing drummer. He just reminds me of a modern day Tommy Lee. But we talked about Tommy a couple of weeks ago and why I liked him growing up. My style changed as I got a little more technical, and I heard Scott Rockenfield of the great Queensryche early days, and I just, wanted to be like him. Never grew up loving Neil Peart like other drummers did until I got older. But then after Scott Rockenfield, I heard a guy by the name of Mark Zonder, who played on some Fates Warning albums that, I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then, of course, when Mike Portnoy came out with Dream Theater, all bets were off. But as I get older now and I listen to a lot of technical drummers, a lot of studio drummers, the great Billy Cobham, what he can do with his body, it doesn't make any sense. And he just sits there all straight up. And that man is just a machine. If you want to hear some fantastic drumming, just go on YouTube and watch some Billy Cobham stuff. Doesn't make any sense what he can do with his body. So he's definitely one of my favorites too. Tony Roaster Jr., another great drummer. He's toured with Jay-Z and other people, and he's just ridiculous as well. So I personally am just the world's biggest student. I love every drummer I see. I don't care if you're 5 years old. I'm going to watch you and I'm going to get something from you and watch you play, and I take something from you. I'm just always trying to learn. If I can take one little thing and incorporate it into what I'm doing, that sounds fantastic. So I'm all for that.
John Bonham too. I mean, just listening to his technique and Led Zeppelin, just
that doesn't even.
If you zero in on him playing, it's just like I don't know anything about playing drums, but what I hear him do sounds very difficult very often.
Yeah, he was a freak of nature. He was definitely a freak of nature with what he did, and the soul that he had, the rhythm that he had. He was very, very special. So I could go on and on, obviously, on this subject. I think I would just wrap it up by saying every drummer I hear, I think I'm a fan of, because I think there's something to learn and take from everybody. Okay? All right, that's it for sports and music for me, man. Let's get some pop culture, Fish.
Come to the honeycomb hideout.
I'm Big Betty the Blonde Bomber, and I want a big cereal.
Honeycomb's big, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not small, no, no, no. Honeycomb's got a big, big bite. Big, big taste in a big, big bite.
Right. A good breakfast featuring post honeycomb cereal gives you a
big, big bite.
It tastes right.
Honeycomb bite. It tastes right.
All right, sir. Well, why don't we start out with some Gen X recommendations? Have you, obviously, you saw Avatar, but have you watched anything else or listened to anything else you wish to recommend to our viewers and listeners, sir?
Yeah. There is a series on Amazon Prime or Prime Videos, if you will. And man, I tell you what, the first 15 minutes had my mouth open. I think they've aired 3 episodes so far, but it is worth every second. Called Citadel.
I've watched that too. Yes.
Yeah, I have enjoyed that immensely. Just very, very, very cool show. Haven't seen Priyanka Chopra on anything since Quantico. Quantico was kind of corny, but she's very good in this. I'm really enjoying her in this series. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've seen that I've enjoyed recently.
Okay. Very good. I've watched that too, Keith. Yeah, I agree with you. It's a very interesting spy show. Stanley, was it Tucci? He's great in this.
He's great in anything.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely worth a watching on Amazon Prime, like you said. I watched a few things. I finished it tonight. A Man Called Otto.
Oh yes, that's on my list.
Yeah, Tom Hanks. Now this is on. I didn't realize it was on Netflix. It's on Netflix now.
Right. Yep.
And I started watching it last night. Finished it up this evening here. Great. Tom Hanks is terrific in this, and it's just
shocker.
yeah, it's a tearjerker for sure. So I won't spoil anything here, but basically, he's a gruff guy living like in a I don't know, a home allotment community.
Yeah.
And he's just very angry and mean, and you don't really understand why. And then you get to know him and why he's kind of grumpy and gruff, and you sort of can understand. And then he inevitably connects with some of the neighbors in the community and that type of stuff. So very, very nice, warm movie. Like I said, happy moments, sad moments. So, but Tom Hanks. Excellent as well as other supporting actors and actresses in the film. And as I mentioned already, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So no spoiler here. Watched it last Friday. James Gunn's final Marvel movie. He directed the first Guardians of the Galaxy and the third one. And he definitely went out with a bang here. And the last couple Marvel movies, I mean, I like the Sam Raimi Doctor Strange. I'm a Sam Raimi fan anyway. The Thor movie was kind of goofy, and I don't know, but this one is just there's definitely some funny moments. Drax is always funny. The banter with him and Mantis is typically very funny. But there's a lot of very serious subject matter in this movie. It's not necessarily one I would say take all the young kids to, and just you're going to watch Rocket Raccoon flying around. There's some tough moments in this movie here.
Okay,
so definitely keep that in mind. But I thought it was very good, and definitely a way to close out this Guardians trilogy. There's no spoiler or secret about this, but it sort of wraps up this group of the Guardians, so they're going to mix things up in the future and all that. So they kind of set that up nicely. 2 credit scenes as normal for Marvel, 1 mid and 1 very end credit. So hang around for those. So Just very, very good. Very,
It's
very
really
powerful.
weird. It feels like we've grown up with these characters because we
Yeah.
remember like this yesterday when they all came together. You know, remember the first Guardians movie? You know, they couldn't stand each other. You know, and just ended up becoming a family. So it's kind of cool to watch. I did take your advice, and I finally caught up and saw Avatar 2, Way of Water with the 3D glasses. It was outstanding. I did have one other recommend too on Paramount. And this is a great one because this is a Gen X recall here. You remember the Michael Douglas classic Fatal Attraction?
Oh, yeah. Great movie.
Yeah, fantastic movie. Well, Paramount remade it.
Oh, really?
Into a series.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, that's what I said. Love it.
Oh, really?
It is a Paramount original. It is absolutely awesome. They took, some liberties. They changed it. He's a prosecutor. Matter of fact, he's in line to be a judge. So he's top prosecutor actually. And he doesn't get the judgeship. And of course, Alec Forrester is a victim's assistance attorney, and they end up whatever. And of course, she goes from charming and cute to I will not be ignored, Dan. It has been absolutely awesome, man. They redid it, and they redid it well. It's 2023, and it's pretty freaking good, man. So they're about 3 or 4 episodes in, maybe more. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3. The 4th episode just came out yesterday. So I got to watch that and catch up. But I have loved every minute of it. It's been really good. Check out Fatal Attraction on Paramount.
Okay, very good. Yeah, that storyline, man. I don't know the movie anyway. I'm sure the show as well. You could picture that stuff happening.
Picture it.
Yeah, that's what made it. That's what made it so crazy.
Picture it. They got that story from me.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, I was a consultant for that movie. No. She stabbed me like this.
Yeah, it's frightening stuff, man.
Man, I lived some of that stuff, dude. What are you talking about? I couldn't see it happening. No, it happened, Jack.
Well, look for those stories on our follow-up show, Pastor Bachelor. We talked about. Yeah,
our book.
Yeah, the Pastor Bachelor talk show. Well, speaking of drama, this guy definitely excelled in drama on television and passed away recently, Keith, while we were away. Jerry Springer passed away.
Yeah.
Aged, how old was he? 79 years of age. 30 years on the air, the Jerry Springer Show. Isn't that something? So, personally, not really. I think I watched it maybe early on for the spectacle behind it, but he was definitely a pioneer in that daytime trash type television, and then other people sort of started to get on board with Regis Philbin and different people,
Jenny Jones.
And just get people on there that it's questionable intelligence and situations, and you put them in this, and you're looking for some drama that gets you attention and ratings and all of that. So, as we know, he was a mayor in Cincinnati, Ohio, for many years before he got his start in television here in Ohio. But yeah. So, were you a fan, Keith, of the Jerry Springer Show? What do you think of that daytime trash type stuff in general? What's your take on this?
Well, like you said, when it came out, like most of us, we were glued to that because of the spectacle of it. We had never seen anything like this. The concept of reality television was new. We thought we were glimpsing in people's personal lives like we could never see before. People just being people, reacting like a lot of people would. Maybe not as reserved or as cool as maybe someone on a television show would, with a script. So we thought we were seeing raw human emotion. And of course, we were young too. Thought we were going to see, scantily loose women and all this other stuff and controversial subjects that were more taboo back then, like homosexuality and things of that nature. So yeah, we were all fascinated by it. I wanted to check it out every day. As I got older, I was like, this is pure garbage. Of course, and I found out most of it was all scripted. I think that was just a slap in the face to come out and say, hey, this is reality TV and you're scripting it. I know for a fact I had a friend on the show and just kind of laid it out what was going on backstage. He was introduced to a girl backstage and told, you guys are going to say you're from a relationship, you're from here, you're from there. But it was just all total fake, which explains some of the bad acting and situations we've seen on that show. The people didn't even hardly know each other. So I really had no respect for the show. I didn't have much respect for Jerry Springer. He made his money. And he did make a comment on his movie that he made one time. He did the Jerry Springer movie. And he made he always does his little rant at the end. He calls it a rant, but he talks very calmly at the end of every show. And he made a good point. And he was like, you know what? Everybody ain't this or that in the world. These people have to have their own vehicle too. I knew people that lived for that stuff,
Sure.
The late great my friend B. He didn't miss Springer for nothing. But that's where he was. That's where he was mentally. He loved that. And I'm not going to say he don't deserve to have his entertainment. You know what I'm saying? He might not have to like everything I like or whatever. So that's fine. There's definitely an audience for it. You don't last that many years and don't have an audience for it. So he fed a need. He definitely saw that there was a need or a desire, if you will, and he fed it. And he lasted longer than any of them. So I'll give him respect for that. But no, wasn't a fan. Every time I saw that stuff, the last 15 so years, whatever, just and turn it. So, but God rest his soul.
Yeah, you're right, man. He definitely thrived in that. Like you say, it's not for me necessarily, but that there's an audience for that. Like you say, the chaos and everything else for several reasons. For one, because some people can relate to it. Like you say, some people were in those situations where, they had a child out of wedlock or whatever it was, and the other parent was crazy, and it's just like, oh my God, I'm not alone in this craziness and drama.
Yeah.
And others probably used it to where it's just simply pure entertainment, and others to where, well, I'm not as Nick. We talked about this on the Convincing Idiots podcast recently, and Nick's point was some people probably used it to where they felt better about themselves, to where they felt that I got a lot going on, but these people here, now they got a real problem. At least I'm not at that level, and they used it as sort of a way to feel better about their own situations they had going on. So I thought that was an interesting point as well. So,
and some people just like stupid fish.
You're right. You're right.
You take music. Take music.
Mindless.
When I was going on, I was mentioning Queensryche earlier. Progressive metal band, thought-provoking, intense lyrics, things to think about. I remember a few friends of mine, Dave Jackson from the band B.O.S.S, he used to call it egghead music. I want to listen to that egghead music. He didn't want to listen to nothing that makes you have to think. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people who love to listen to Queensryche and Rush and all that stuff. But some people just want to listen to You Shook Me All Night Long or Thunderstruck. One word, keep it simple. People grew up loving The Day the Music Died. That was tense. That was beautiful. But some people just wanted to hear a ball, the dang dong ding. They don't make any sense. So what? I just want to sing something stupid and get loose. So everything's not for everybody, and different strokes, different folks. It was stupid. It was scripted. It was horrible. And some people loved it. That's what they wanted. That's what they needed. And fair is fair, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like it's like Skinner on this show.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure where I was going with that.
And I was going to back you up like
Easy.
an idiot. I was going to go over that bridge with you.
Go listen to Skinner, Cage in a Cage coming out there.
Yes.
You heard what we're talking about here. I don't want to think. I just want to listen
Just
to
wanna
some
listen.
commentary.
Right.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, Skinner's an easy target when he's not here, especially.
I know, right?
Yeah. All right. So the Hollywood writers are on strike. This is a big deal in pop culture right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Second time, I remember.
Yes, you're right. Years ago, that's right. A lot of shows are immediately impacted, and the first impacts are more all the major late night talk shows are done. They're completely stuck right now because it's live shows every day, writing every day, the material every single day. All these shows have stopped. The finale of Saturday Night Live was supposed to be this past Saturday with Pete Davidson. That was canceled because of the writer's strike. And there's going to be more and more shows as it progresses that are going to be at risk it's going to be a while before you feel it because there's so many shows that they've already made it and its content's ready and they're going to roll it out or need some finalizing or whatever it is. So it may be a while before you really feel it on some of the streaming and network television and all that. But anyway, one thing I thought was interesting, there's more and more news around artificial intelligence. So the technology continues to grow. We recently had the godfather of artificial intelligence resign his position with Google. This guy was Jeffrey Hinton to speak out against the technology, that it's advancing very rapidly, and he's worried about it because it could be used for no good if you're not careful, and it could have some improper recommendations and different things if you're not watching it. So he's really warning people about it. But one of the things about the writer's strike is they want to have some type of stipulations against artificial intelligence, in part that they don't want to, and it makes sense. So they don't want to use scripts that they have written, used to train artificial intelligence to write more material.
Training your replacements.
Exactly. They want some protection against all this. So I just think it's just kind of crazy to where, as we talk a little bit off camera, the creative fields, art, music, writing, those types of things, certainly you have to be very good to make a living at those without question. And then you're also competing against many, many, many other talented individuals that just might be more talented than you are, and you got to try to work and compete and that type of thing. When that's normal and that's fine, really, in any profession, really. But now when you're competing against artificial intelligence in the creative world, it's I don't know if it's scary per se, but that's
the word. That's the word that's coming to me.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
so what are your thoughts on all this? Artificial
the whole time you're saying it, that's the word coming to me. Let me tell you something, Fish. I always say this. I don't have to know everything, but I just try to surround myself with people that know more than I do. And I say that to say this. I might not know all that's going on with artificial intelligence, but these writers are telling us something.
Yeah.
For them to be that concerned, what do they know we don't know? I saw Jimmy Fallon talking to an artificial intelligence robot the other night on TV. I don't know if you caught that or not.
I did not.
It was very spooky. You ought to pull that up on YouTube. I think they purposely did not put hair on this AI.
I may have seen this robot before. Is it a female robot?
Yes, because it would have been very, very close. When you look at all the TikToks and the things going out, are people that are accusing certain celebrities of being clones or not themselves or whatever. It makes you start to wonder, man, have anybody been playing around with AI with these people, So it's really scary, man, to think about. And if they can replace writers, who else can they start to replace?
Sure.
It's going to filter down to the regular Joe Schmo, or as they like to say, Joe Sixpack, I mean, think about it. Think about what it did to the middle to lower class of America when garbage trucks took 5 guys hanging off of a truck, and now you got one guy driving with a mechanical arm coming out, picking them up, dumping them. Think of what that did.
Sure.
What can artificial intelligence do to the fabric of this country, man? Really scary stuff, dude.
Absolutely. So take up more and more opportunities, and what people are going to get paid to do is going to be, I don't know. You venture to guess it might be for stuff that more and more people don't prefer to do for a living that may wind up having to do it because artificial intelligence maybe can't do it, or there's some involvement in monitoring artificial intelligence or maintaining and or building or stuff like that. So I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, crazy stuff. It overlaps a little bit into your music world. Your kid, we talked about this a little bit. Just one of your thoughts on the Ed Sheeran case. So Ed Sheeran just won a case. He won a lawsuit.
Good question.
It was a Let's Get It On copyright trial. So the great Marvin Gaye, I think it was his estate, right, sued Ed Sheeran because they said that Ed Sheeran's hit song "Thinking Out Loud" was very, very close to the 1973 Marvin Gaye classic "Let's Get It On." So, as they said, basically he stole music, or I don't know if, you might know a little bit more about it than I do, but anyway, so the chords, and it just sounded very similar. So the jury favored in Ed Sheeran's favor, and he had said something along the lines of if he lost this case, that he was just going to get out of music because it was not intentional or something like that. So I don't know. You listened to it a little bit off camera as far as the similarities. So what are your thoughts on all this, or these cases in general?
This is a really, really tricky situation here because I listened to the songs carefully. And verse-wise, they lined up exactly. I mean, everything from the sound production, on the snare drum, to where their riffs are, the timing, the pace of the songs, the BPM, beats per minute, all that stuff. And I mean, it was, the chords were almost identical. I think you were playing a minor seventh versus a A or something. I don't know. It was just like, wow. I saw a video where they would play a few seconds from his, and then a few seconds went to, and the scenes were almost seamless. The connections were almost seamless, going from one song to the other. Now, with that being said, it's really, really hard. If you think you are an original artist in this world, I would bet you're probably fooling yourself. Very few come out where you'd be like, man, I never heard anything like it. It's just hard to create in music in this world anymore because, one, almost every chord, every riff, every rhythm has been explored. Two, we are more inoculated with it because we have so many devices to get it from. We've got internet, we've got, Facebook, music on our computers, MP3, we got radio, CD, DVD, Blu-ray, movie soundtracks, Rockstar, video game, all this stuff. We are so inoculated with music that seeps down in us. And then, sometime later down the road, when you're in a mood to write and you think you're putting together something original, it's just something coming out of you that was already put in you. And musicians, we talk about this all the time. Nobody's really creating nothing new. We're just regurgitating something we already heard. Now, sometimes we get too close to that, and I'm not saying that's what he did. I'm not saying he blatantly stole it, but it sounded a lot like he said, you know what, I'm going to take these chords and make something new with it. I probably would have found him guilty to some degree because it was just too close for me. I was talking to somebody about Now, some bands have blatantly stole from artists. Led Zeppelin is just criminals. They stole from so many of the great blues artists. Sometimes they use the exact words they use, and it wasn't as widespread media, but look it up on YouTube. They're just thieves, man. Metallica's done some stealing from some people. So there's those who really steal from people and don't give them their credit. They're just due. And then there's those who think they're writing and they're really regurgitating something they heard. So it's really tricky. They say the greatest form of flattery is imitation. And sometimes, that's, you can look at it that way. But when it comes down to making $1 or getting $1, somebody think they can get $1 out of you, you're going to get sued. And I get it. I get it from the Marvin Gaye family estate. That's just so close, man. It's so close. I don't know if I would have found him guilty or not, but it was really, really, really close, and it sounded very, very blatant. And I'd like to hear what Eric Sheeran has to say about it, because if he says it wasn't intentional, I'd have more respect for that. But if he comes out and says, "No, it's completely original," you're full of crap, man. You're full of crap. This is hard to do, man. There's so much we haven't. There's only so many chords out there. There's only so many riffs out there,
Right.
that make sense. And we've explored just about all of them, it seems like. So it's hard right now to keep hearing original music. There are different bands come out every year that sound different, and they're really, really cool. But you can say, "Oh man, they're influenced by this, they're influenced by that." You can always pick them apart and get something out of them. But that particular song is pretty close.
I'll have to go back and listen to the side by side and compare, but I agree with you too. It's like a lot of this, I'm sure, some of it might be intentional. To your point, some of it I agree with you as well. Is that there's only, you're influenced by stuff you don't even really remember that you're influenced by, and you may wind up replicating in some way, shape, or form just out of the enjoyment of. I don't know. It's very difficult. Well, so if you ever listen to any podcasts out there and you hear podcasts where you have 3 Gen X guys, 2 relatively entertaining, 1, not so sure, then we want to hear, because that is the model that we set up.
That's right.
Purposely. Yeah.
Yeah, funny story. I'll never forget. I was about 16 years old. I had just started playing drums with a guitar player. My first experience with anything had to do with the band. A friend of mine by the name of John Stafford. And we thought we were rock star songwriters. And I was at home taking my stab at writing songs. And I wrote this piece of music. I was so excited. I called him. I said, "Dude, I got our first original. Can't wait. I'm taking a cab over to your house, man. We're going to work on this song." And I take a cab all the way over there to the other side of town, run up in his bedroom, start singing and playing this piece of music for him. And he's just staring at me. I just rewrote Prophecy by Queensryche. To this day, he cracks on me about that. Never lets me live that down, man. And the words I wrote were so cheesy and corny, but it was the exact same song, man. Man, it was very funny. So
that's great. We should have a friend to reel you in there. That's good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. This week in pop culture history, Keith, again, we're shooting this on Monday, May the 8th, as we said before. May the 10th, all the way back in 1939, we have a very famous comic book character birthday, if you will, his very first appearance in the 27th issue of Detective Comics hit the newsstands here. You might know already that was the first appearance by Batman. Yeah, some people think maybe Batman started with his own series. No. He made an appearance in Detective Comics, and obviously he became very popular, and then spawned his own comic book series, and then the rest is
history. Yeah,
history. The issue, by the way, is here. So it's considered by some to be the most valuable comic in print, which is interesting.
Wow.
One sold for 1 million. No, what's this? 1,075? No, 1,075,000 in 2010. So pretty amazing stuff here. So the Batman is certainly, I think he's one of our favorite comic book
Without question.
characters that there is. So we'll take a pause here on Batman. So any particular comic stories of Batman intrigue you? We talked about the movies at length on this podcast and others, but I'm curious if you happen to know of any comic book storyline of the Batman that probably many, but if any come to mind as one of your favorites.
Yeah, one of the early stuff I thought was fantastic because it was so gritty and dark and gloomy. The ones when he actually met Dick Grayson for the first time and was trying to reel him in. That storyline was great. Of course, it was set in the early, what was the 40s, you said, or whatever that came out.
39, yeah.
39, yeah. And so the cars and everything was different, and it was just a raw, gritty story. It didn't have the sci-fi feel we have on it today. He was a detective foremost, more than anything, a troubled human being, a raw fighter, and now he's got this kid who's trying to control his hatred and his pain. And I remember reading a thick graphic novel comic book on that storyline. So that original storyline is one of my favorites. He saw the brilliance of him being a detective and teaching Dick Grayson to be a detective back then. It wasn't about the utility belt and the fights. It was about the detective skills. And I remember reading all that cool stuff. So I remember Dick Grayson, they were trying to hunt down this man named Ted Tate. And Dick Grayson found him, or Robin, if you will. And he only had seconds to send a message to Batman. And he left Batman a penny in an envelope. And everybody was like, that's not a message. That's not a message. But Batman, being the detective he is, put that penny under a microscope. And Robin, using something incredibly small where it says 1 cent in United States of America, he had crossed out all the letters so that it said 1 cent of Ted Tate. And it was just total brilliant detective stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I remember all of this stuff. They got away so much from the detective aspect of Batman. And I always remember that was like one of the coolest things I ever saw, I used to always look at a penny going, yep, you can cross that out. And it'll say 1 cent of Ted Tate, And that was very, very cool. So that's the stuff I remember.
Very good. Yeah, I got into collecting the comic. I liked Batman as a kid, the Justice League and all that, but it wasn't until the movie back in '89 that I started to collect the comics, and they really kind of adjusted Batman at that point to be darker again, kind of more in line with the movie feel and stuff like that. So I collected Batman comics for many years after that, and I have the original series up in the attic right now. That's the Nightfall series, which they've portrayed in the original trilogy. Not the original trilogy, the Nolan trilogy with Bane. So that was based on a comic book series where Batman was defeated by Bane. Bane literally broke his back. And Batman was paralyzed for a while in a wheelchair. And they brought another guy in to take over the mantle of the Batman. And for a while, this guy wore the traditional Batman uniform. And then he eventually kind of created his own bat suit with armor and things. And he got Azrael was this guy's name. So he became more and more violent. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne was working to recuperate and all that. And it kind of ended where Bruce Wayne had to fight Azrael, who was the dominant Batman. And then, of course, obviously Bruce Wayne won. Azrael was defeated, and then Bruce Wayne resumed the whole thing. But it was a very long, intense storyline, the whole recovery of Bruce Wayne and the whole uprising of this Azrael guy. So Nightfall. I'm sure you can find it out there in a graphic novel.
Yeah.
And there's so many storylines of Batman. It's very, very interesting. Like you say, just with the detective work and things, when they work that into the storyline, it makes it that much more interesting, which is, I know, one thing that we liked with the whole Robert Pattinson
exactly. Yeah.
version in the new Batman movie. So, yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Real quick before you go to your next subject, I want to say, going back to the Ed Sheeran subject, Mike Skinner Jr., our multi-talented podcast producer, is also an excellent musician. I would sure like to hear you weigh in on this too. So, be curious to see what your thoughts are. All right?
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. That's all right. Similar storyline as the Batman back in 1962 on the same day on May 10th, Keith, another famous Marvel hero made his debut, the Hulk. So Stan Lee and Jack King Kirby, one of the most interesting characters in all of comic book superheroes, in my opinion. So kind of the same question. I mean, I don't know if you read the Hulk as much as Batman.
I used to read a lot of Hulk. I loved the Hulk growing up. I had a lot of Hulk comic books. Yeah. You know,
same question. Any storyline jump out at you? One of your favorite Hulk storylines over the years to recognize him?
Boy, they got really weird with the Hulk. You know, especially when he was able to talk, and they had the intelligence of Banner. There was Purple Hulk, Gray Hulk. One time they had him as a bouncer at a nightclub.
I remember that.
Yeah, who's going to mess up at that club?
Mr. Fix-It. Mr. Fix-It was his name. It was the Gray Hulk at the time. Yeah, they had the big suits and everything.
Yeah, I'm like, are you serious? Anyway, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go way back. And then I know you're asking about comic books, but I'm going to go outside of the comic books. And the reason why I'm saying this is just like Batman, the essence of these heroes have gotten lost over the years. And sometimes the weirdest thing can capture that essence, and all this other fancy stuff gets away from it. So the Hulk now, you know, the bigger they make him, the meaner they make him, and the stronger they make him, it's all about that. But the campy, corny TV show,
great show,
which featured Bill Bixby as
Bruce
Banner, and the great Lou Ferrigno as the Incredible Hulk, which I didn't miss that show for nothing. I loved it.
Good show.
That show captured the loneliness of Bruce Banner. Yeah. And it captured it in 30 or 60 seconds at the very end. With him walking away, leaving another town, leaving by the friends that he just made, maybe a love interest that he just made, because he can't stay there. Thumbs up, other hand in his pocket, everything he owns on his back, and that music.
Yeah, that piano.
The loneliness of the Hulk, the despair. I love that moment, man. And we've gotten away from that, you know, about the Bruce Banner aspect of the Hulk, you know.
Yeah.
Very, very sad. Can't be around anybody he loved. They touched on it in Age of Ultron when Bruce Banner and Black Widow started a relationship somewhat. And he was like, you know, what am I going to be, a father? You know, I can't stay here. You know, I got to go. And he did kind of take off and leave or whatever. But that's what I missed about the Hulk. He just, the lonely existence of being this person. You know, and I love what at the party they had, Black Widow goes, yeah, there's this guy and he spends his whole life avoiding the fight because he knows he can win. You know, I was like, okay, yeah, they're getting on a little bit, but that's what I miss.
Very good. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, there's a series, I want to say late 80s, early 90s. Probably could find it, I would assume, a graphic novel or otherwise here, but Crossroads. So at the time, this was like the intelligent Hulk that had the intelligence of Bruce Banner. And I think it was Mephisto or somebody basically took away the Bruce Banner. So Bruce Banner was basically pushed way deep inside the Hulk. And it was just a total rampaging Hulk to where he was out of control. And Doctor Strange had to come in and they banished him
hard
into
to deal
another.
with.
Yes,
All you can
into
do.
another dimension. That's right, into another dimension. So on Earth, no one knew what happened to him. So you followed the Hulk in that storyline, and he came up on this crossroads in this other dimension. At every story for a while, he'd go down a different path, and then you got to learn about the Hulk as well. So they really got into what made the Hulk angry to begin. So he really got into the trauma of Bruce Banner's childhood, where he was an abused child with his father and all that stuff. And that started the inner anger of Banner that, of course, came out with the Hulk. So really got pretty deep and serious, and it was a very interesting storyline. If you ever come across Crossroads of the Hulk, just
definitely
great stuff.
I think I've seen some of that. Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, and then 1908, Keith, May the 10th. It was the first Mother's Day. Back in 1908. Let's see here. So it was when Anna Jarvis held a memorial for her mother at St. Andrew's Methodist Church in Grafton, West Virginia. The location, you can find the International Mother's Day Shrine, which I had no idea of any of this here. It was her quest to create Mother's Day began 3 years earlier when her own mother passed away. So let's see, her goal was to create a day dedicated to peace. And in 1914, President Woodrow Wilson signed a proclamation designating that the second Sunday of each May should be reserved for National Mother's Day. During the 1920s, Hallmark cards and others started taking advantage of the day, selling cards, et cetera, et cetera. And by 1925, carnations became associated with the holiday. But when the American war mothers sold them to raise money, Jarvis became upset and got arrested for disturbing the peace. So anyway, so it was this one lady. I didn't realize this. One lady was trying to honor her own mother.
Yeah.
And then it got national attention and became the first Mother's Day. So obviously, we know how much your mother meant to you, Keith. Any thoughts on the first Mother's Day or what the day has meant to you over the years? Any thoughts on this? I know it's not an easy subject for you.
So I'm glad you reported that, because I had no idea as well. It's one of those holidays that you hear people every year going, "Oh, it's just something made up by the candy companies and the flower companies to make money." Well, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. And you got to think about this too. You look at the day that this was created. Back then, maybe up until, I don't know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you got to look at what mothers had to put up with in this country. You know what I'm saying? You know, no right to vote, no right to this, all stuck in the home or whatever. They deserve the day. So I think it's great. Mother's Day is something that means a lot to me, always have. And I always prided myself on making sure that I had Mother's Day every chance I could, every opportunity I could, by honoring my mother, by doing something for her, buying something for her. Of course, on that day, it was always special because of the family dynamic. Excuse me. Anytime she could see her kids could come together or grandkids come there or whatever, it was special. But I always wanted to make sure Mother's Day was always something that I thought about every time I got around my mother or thought about my mother. We just honored the year of her passing, April 11th. And, Mother's Day will definitely be very, very difficult this year. And I'm trying to focus on what she instilled in me, as opposed to, boo-hoo, I miss her. Because that pain ain't going away no time soon. But I want to focus on what she instilled in us. I'm so blessed to have had her for a mother, the lessons she taught us, the things she wouldn't stand for. She wouldn't allow us to call each other names when we fought. She never stopped us from fighting. She goes, "You guys can fight all you want, but I will not let you call each other out your names," things like that. How to be how to clean, how to cook for yourself, how to take care of a house, how to be decent to other human beings, how to care for others, more importantly. And I owe my relationship to the Lord, to my mother. So I'm just so grateful. But I think it's a day that people should not take lightly, man. Mothers put up with a lot of crap, man. They put up with a lot of crap, and daddies have skated too long on this in this country, and so we should honor our mothers. But you shouldn't just do it on Mother's Day. Every opportunity you get, honor your mother.
Great point, sir. And then you mentioned here as well, there's many ways to honor your mother, not just, like you say, the superficial cards and things like that. It's the spending the time, and then it's also
that's what it's about. Yeah.
Honoring what she taught you, to your point. So that's great. The qualities and passing those on to others and all that. That's probably one of the greatest ways to honor any of our parents, I should say. So good stuff, sir. Okay. So honor mom. If mom's still around, spend some time.
Yes.
Talk to her, spend time with her. If you have lost mom, honor your mom by continuing to remember what she taught you and pass those qualities and values on. So good stuff. All right. Okay, and then last subject I have tonight, Keith, here, May the 13th in 2004. It's time flies. The final episode of Frasier aired, and that show lasted for 11 seasons. And it's like, wow. It's like, you think about Cheers, and it spawned Frasier. Frasier, of course, was a very popular character on there, and Frasier didn't, as we know, didn't have a whole lot to do with Cheers. They had some cameo appearances. Some of the original cast members with Sam and a couple of people visited Frasier, but it was just such a popular character. And again, very successful. I would venture to guess one of the most successful spin-offs of any television show ever. So it kind of got us talking a little bit here. What are some of your favorite TV spin-offs over the years? So don't have to have a set number per se, but if any comes to mind that were some of your favorites, or just some that were successful that you want to mention there. So any come to mind, Keith?
Yeah. Okay. Well, in the early days, there was a great connection between some of my favorite shows of all time, comedies, or if you will. That was a connection between Good Times, All in the Family, The Jeffersons, and Maude.
That's right.
Yeah, and all connected. So, man, those are just some of the greatest shows ever made, funniest shows ever made, and it was great. On Maude, Florida, from Good Times, was housekeeper for Maude for a while.
That's right.
Okay, where they got their show, and on All in the Family, George Jefferson. The Jeffersons had moved in next to the Bunkers.
That's right.
Before they went on and got before they moved on up. So that was just a great connection of shows back then. Those are some of my favorites. And of course, as I got older, there was a show that had been out for a few years. I never watched it. Then when I broke my ankle, was laid up for weeks after weeks after weeks. Somebody gave me a bunch of video cassettes of the show, and I watched every last one of them year after year after year. And that's when I became a Law and Order fan. And I'm so glad to see that it's back. But SVU spinned off from that, and I just absolutely love SVU. Mariska Hargitay, Ice-T was a perfect fit for that show. That is one of my favorite spinoffs of all time. And of course, you mentioned in pre-show, one of the greatest spinoff franchises of all time was from Star Trek.
Yes.
And I don't even know if some of them aren't spinoffs, because the Next Generation is certainly years later. But they all connect. Just like I said, it's a spinoff. But of course, from Star Trek came Star Trek Next Generation. From that, you got Star Trek Voyager. From that, you got Star Trek Deep Space Nine. From that, you got Star Trek Enterprise. And then, of course, now you have Star Trek Discovery, which is amazing. Star Trek Strange New World, which is amazing. And then I just finished season 3 of Picard, which might be the greatest thing I've ever saw in the Star Trek universe. So the sci-fi stuff is my favorite, but it goes all the way back to the comedies of the Mauds and the All in the Family. Those are my favorite spinoffs.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, some of those made my list as well. I mean, the Jeffersons, I used to love that show. I used to watch it on reruns all the time. Sherman Hemsley, it's just fantastic. Laverne and Shirley, same era, right? So they started out. Some people don't really know that they started out on Happy Days.
Sure did.
I think Laverne was dating the Fonz, if I recall correctly, and they got popularity, and then that was a huge Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley. That was a big
and Mort came from there too.
That's right. Mort was on Happy Days for a minute, which was very odd and strange. But so The Simpsons. The Simpsons came from the Tracy Ullman show, as a lot of people know. So they were just a short on that show back in the late 80s. And obviously The Simpsons became...
That was huge.
Still on the air to this day, 30 plus years later, which is incredible. One of the longest running television shows, period, in history, which is pretty amazing. Just other ones, Benson. Benson the butler got his
that's right.
Soap. Yep. Right. I used to enjoy Benson. I just thought, the guy, the actor's name escapes him right now, but he was fabulous.
Robert Guillaume.
That's it.
Yeah, he was great.
So good. Putting the rich people in their place all the time was fantastic. The Bionic Woman obviously came from the $6 Million Man, Lindsay Wagner.
Didn't miss that.
Great stuff. You had The Facts of Life. I used to watch The Facts of Life, which came off of Different Strokes. You might, a lot of course, our age probably watched The Facts of Life.
Yeah.
It's Fear the Walking Dead is a newer one here. So they took some characters from the Walking Dead series and branched off into another part of that universe. I definitely enjoy Fear the Walking Dead. I think it's coming to it might be coming to a finale as well, as did the Walking Dead. But Fear the Walking Dead was a very interesting offshoot on the West Coast, and it was set kind of earlier in the zombie apocalypse initially. So good stuff here. So not a lot. Certainly on the other side of it, we can also name a lot of spinoffs that did not fare so well, and probably a lot of bad ones. But I think we definitely named some good ones here.
Yeah, how about Gomer Pyle, USMC, off of the Andy Griffith show? That was great. Yeah.
That was a good one. Yeah, absolutely. It was hugely popular in the 60s. Absolutely. Any other ones come to mind, Keith, you want to mention?
Oh, I can't think of too many other ones right now. There was a lot that came from the Mary Tyler Moore show.
Right.
Bob Newhart, Rhoda, all those had a lot spin off from off of there too. So it was some good stuff.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I think before we create our own spin-off with a lengthy episode.
Well, Bachelor Pastor, Pastor, that's going to be a spinoff from me.
That's right, from Pastor GenX. Bachelor.
Pastor Bachelor, yeah.
Cage in a Cage.
Cage in a Cage,
Nick Cage all the time, from Skinner in an actual cage. Yeah,
we're a spinoff. We're a spinoff from reality football.
You're right.
Yeah.
Actually, we are. You're exactly right. Reality Football, original podcast. Exactly right. So, can't make fun of spinoffs because we are one.
No. Right.
Well, Keith, any announcements, sir, before we wrap up yet another spin-off episode?
I do. Unfortunately, my band, Rock Generation, which was going to be debuting new singer Pat Moran, Friday, May 26th at Stinger Harley Davidson in Medina, Ohio. That show has been canceled to reasons out of our purview. So I apologize to any and all that were going to come out to the show. Stay tuned for hopefully bigger and better things to happen. The band is devastated. We're hurt for ourselves. We hurt for anyone that was coming to the show. So we apologize greatly, but that show has been canceled as Stinger Harley Davidson May 26th Rock Generation. But there's some great stuff coming up for us late in the summer. The Summer's Last Stand Festival, the lineup is already starting to form up. It's going to be the last concert of the summer, August 26th. And I hate talking about that. Summer hasn't even really started yet, good, but they're getting the lineup done early. The headliners this year will be a Disturbed tribute band.
Wow.
But Rock Generation will also be doing a set there. So, keep an eye out for more details on that. So that's about it for me.
All right, very good. Well, for me, as always, you can also hear me on our brother podcast, Convincing Idiots with Dean and Nick. Pop culture fun, nerdy stuff. Also, wherever you listen to podcast on YouTube at Convincing Idiots, and also the Boss Code Media TV network. So,
yes.
On that note, we will speak for our future groom to be, Skinner. We are the guys from GenX. We thank you for your listening ears and watchful eyes, and we appreciate your support, and we hope you join us again for our next episode of the It Came From GenX podcast.
Yes. When you see us again, one of us will be married.
That's right. That's right.
Guess who?
Stay strong, Gen X, especially Marcy.
Leave that girl alone, man.
Hey, this is Skinner from It Came From Gen X. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and like, and we'll see you next time.
We ready?
Yep.
All right, guys. Good show. In 3, 2.
You know what? I need 10 more minutes.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm going to run to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Yeah, y'all can kiss my white ass.